This is Stradu, and this is the third entry in my series of VOD reviews from Nerub-ar Palace Mythic as Shadow. And it's Sikran. I did not participate in the original progress for this fight, so I got into a rekill now a few weeks later. This means it's my only pull on Mythic, but luckily Mythic is basically the same fight as Heroic, so there wasn't really anything to learn. It's a single target fight, which means you just play whichever single target setup you prefer. Because Void Weaver got buffed this week, I gave that a shot. At the time, it looked like Mind Spike and Distorted Reality would be the best setup, but since then, some more sims have come out and it might be Mind Devourer Mind's Eye instead. It's like a 1% difference or so. You can also play Archon. It's probably easier and more DPS just because Archon is slightly better on single target and most other situations. But it's close enough that just comfort and preference are going to be what determine what you end up playing. On the class side, you want to play all the defensive stuff because there's no special utility you need. There's nothing you can Phantasm, there's nothing you can Master Spell, no adds to Shackle or anything. And as usual, the choice node between Leech and Windbreak Embrace is just preference, both for you and your raid leader. In my case, I play Leech because the only time my raid leader assigns my Windbreak Embrace is when I'm playing Holy. So when I'm playing Shadow, I just play Leech instead. For the trinkets, you're looking at the same ones as every other boss. You want your Spymaster's Web, because that's the best trinket by far, the on use category, and then you want whatever your best passive trinket happens to be, whether that's a Gale of Shadows, or a Sack Brood, or a Changeling, or a Ritual Knife. Whatever you happen to have, and whatever is the highest eye level, is just what you're going to play. So let's move on to the CD usage, which is also going to include some Spymaster's Web thoughts. The CDs I've set up here are for Archon, because that's what it looked like I was going to play initially when I made the plan. So you just press all your DPS CDs on CD, there's no phases you need to worry about. The only thing you might consider is your kill time. This one just assumes the fight lasts 6 minutes. In my case, it was just over 4 minutes, which is essentially the same in terms of CD planning. If the kill time is in the like 5:30-ish range, then you would shift this Void Eruption and Power Infusion to be at 5 minutes, so you can line it up with your second potion. This also means your Spymaster's usage would change. In my case, with a roughly 4.5 minute kill time, the Spymaster's usage would be on pull if I have a stack, which I don't in my case, then at 4 minutes with my last CDs, because that's where you have roughly 40 stacks. If you have a kill time like this full raid plan where it's over 6 minutes, then you would Spymasters at 0, at 2 minutes, and at 6 minutes with your last CDs. And if you have the like 5:30-ish kill time, then you would end up using your Spymasters at pull. You would use it at 1 minute-ish, just to spend your stacks, because then you have another 4 minutes until you get to 5-ish minutes, where you have time to generate another 40 stacks, which you will then use with your delayed Power Infusion and Void Eruption and your potion for a big burst at the end. So this is something you need to consider if you have an idea of the kill time you will have. If you don't, then the safe bet is just to send everything on CD and Spymasters every 4 minutes. And then just keep sending Spymasters at the end because you might as well. For your defensive buttons, there's nothing really worth dispersing, because the only really scary big hit is if people mess up the images and place them too close. But you can't really predict that, so dispersing it isn't really a thing. Desperate Prayer you want to use each time the boss does Shattering Sweep, ideally, because that's the big hit that is guaranteed to happen. It lines up fairly well, you don't sit on it for too long, you don't need Angel's Mercy for it. Then for Fade, you want to Fade anytime you get Phase Blades. You can Phase Blade you can Fade every Phase Blade rather. The CD lines up just fine. You can almost do it without the cooldown reduction even, but you might as well play it. If you don't get this second or third phase blades, you can just delay your fade a little bit and use it for the decimate instead. If you do use it for phase blade, it will last into the beginning of the decimate at least. But if you don't get the phase blade, you might as well just save it for the decimate. And then you also have it for every shattering sweep alongside your desperate prayer, just for some extra safety. So let us get into the actual kill. Here we have the Void Weaver opener. I do actually end up having a stack, I just don't use it for some reason. But yeah, you go into your CDs. Right as you're casting your Void Blast and you're done with those, the charges go out, so you can actually move reasonably well for it, because you have some instants, you might have a Devouring Plague ready, otherwise you can death. But I don't get it, which is nice, I just get to stand still. You have a fair few instants and you have Void Torrent to move with, so you should be able to dodge most of these swirlies. I end up getting hit once, it's not the end of the world. Then one thing you want to try to make sure you do is with each Void Torrent, because you can move during it, you want to move towards the boss with it, just to close the gap and not fall behind. You can see here one of the images exploded because Big P got hit on the way in, and then with his own dash, which I think was the fourth one. So we get an explosion, nobody dies luckily, but that's one of the things that can hurt on this fight, and you can't really predict it, which is unfortunate for your CDs. Here you can see I have to move a bit during my Void Rift window, which is not great. It means I cancel some casts, don't press some GCDs, because I try to make sure the movement happens correctly. And you can see here I'm pretty low, but I'm not actually in danger of dying because there's no more damage coming out until this Shattering Sweep. For the Shattering Sweep, you want to make sure you're not too close to the boss, because then you will get knocked, which is just unnecessary. Instead, walk out to, like, 15-yard range or so, and stand there in whatever raid CDs happen to be popped. And then you just take some damage and don't get knocked. One kind of cute thing you can do, as another image explodes because of the same thing as before, somebody got hit twice. But yeah, so one cute thing you can do is with your Unfurling Darkness, because it's a debuff rather than a CD, you can start casting the Vampiric Touch rather. You can start casting it before the debuff is gone, and then as long as the cast finishes after the debuff drops, you will get your proc. So that might help you line it up more nicely sometimes. Most of the time it's not going to make a difference at all, but it's something to keep in mind. You don't actually need to wait until the debuff is gone before starting your cast, just the cast needs to finish after the debuff is gone. Then something that's going to happen here coming up with my next Void Torrent is that I just forget to press Dark Ascension. Because of the kill time, my expectation is that I'll get this next Power Infusion, which means that even though I forget to press this next Dark Ascension, I have to just hold it at that point. I'm committed. I can't send it with my next Void Torrent to try to fix things, because it's going to be tight to even get the Power Infusion. I can't delay it by another 30 seconds. So you can see I made the mistake. My Dark Ascension is ready when it shouldn't be, but I just keep playing. You can see my Spymaster stacks are starting to get high as well. They'll be at almost 40 by the time I get to press my big CDs. And another thing you can see is my assignment from Nexus Princess are coming up. My raid leader wants me to Symbol of Hope and Human of Hope, because that's my assignment at roughly 3:30 on that fight. I can't do that as Shadow, so I don't. Instead, I just keep blasting. And here you can see I get another set of images. Place them a bit better than last time. Don't overlap with a previous image, I just barely managed to get out of range of it. And then I start setting up for my final set of CDs, get a Devouring Plague on the target, and then send my Trinket, my PI, and get into Void Torrent. And then the boss is going to die just as the CDs end, pretty much, for me. So, very good kill time. that is basically it for Sikran. Not much changes from Heroic. Very simple fight, very easy fight. The next thing I'll probably end up making a video on is either a Rashanan rekill, if I can sneak one in there as Shadow, and otherwise it's going to be Court, because that's the next fight I'll actually progress as Shadow, hopefully. I wasn't in for Root Twister, and rekills are kind of sketchy there, so getting in on one of those is unlikely for the foreseeable future. And on Nexus Princess, as I mentioned, I'm playing Holy. So yeah, Rashanan or Silken Court next, hopefully. As usual, I'll put the Viserio note thing in the description alongside the logs, and hopefully that's useful to someone. I'll see you next time.